Hi everyone, this is Michelle Kane with Michelle Kane Actions. For this tutorial, we're going to create and edit from start to finish using just the Botanical Blends actions. And on this particular picture, we've used 4 actions from the Botanical Blends collection. And this photo comes to us from Tanya Risser Photography. So thank you to her for letting us use this picture. And a lot of people always want to know how to use just the botanical blends in their edits. And while it wasn't necessarily created as a collection that has all of the hardcore tools like the Hardy actions were, there's actually quite a bit in the botanical blends that you can do besides just toning your pictures. So on this particular picture, let's look at the straight at a camera. And it's a very pretty straight at a camera, nice and sharp and pretty colors to work with, but the main problem area is just the exposure of her face, and that's easily remedied. And we just want to kind of pop out the dress a little bit, give it some softness, give the background a little bit more punchy softness, and draw attention to her. So the first thing that I did was play Illuminate, then I played Buttery Blur, then Bamboo, and this is where the magic's going to happen, and we'll go into all the layers in Bamboo. It's a very versatile action. And then finally just did a little bit of vignetting with Nightshade. So let's go ahead and take this back to the very beginning, and we'll start with Illuminate. So Illuminate is a lightning action, and again in the Botanical Blends, and we're just going to hit play. And when it plays, it brightens up everything. And it actually pulls down a little bit of the highlights as well. So we don't want it on the entire picture. So as per my usual, we're going to invert this layer mask, Command-I, Control-I on a PC. And then using a white brush, probably about a 20% opacity, very soft brush, I'm just going to begin to paint this brightening effect onto her where I see that she needs brightened up. Her shoulder blade's very, very bright already. So I'm just kind of going to avoid that and then just get down here by her hand and a little by her legs. And then I'm going to make my brush kind of big, and I'm just going to zip it along at a 10% opacity, just kind of around this area to the edges of her that are already very bright. I'm just going to lighten it up and kind of fade the brushing that I did in to the rest of the picture. Now I can always come back later and add more brightness or remove it if I found that I've gotten too much. So there's step number 1. And the next step I want to do is play the action called Buttery Blur, and this one's actually a freebie action right now on my website. You can go to my Facebook page and download it. And just a side note, if you've purchased the actions in the past and then you upgrade to Photoshop version CS6 and find that Buttery Blur plays crazy, go ahead and just re-download that action from my Facebook page. There seems to be something amiss with Adobe's latest update. So we're going to play Buttery Blur, and I'm not going to change any of the layers inside of this. I liked how it played just as it is. And what we are going to do, however, is just remove it off the eyes. So it gave a very creamy, wonderful softness. It even softened out her skin enough to where I don't think we need to run Flawless Face or anything like that. So I'm just going to grab a black brush and about a 60% opacity brush, and I'll come in here and just start to remove this off of her eyes, because as the name implies, there's blur to this action, and we don't want to soften up her eyes at all. If I want to darken up her lips, I can kind of remove it off at those as well. If there's any other place in the picture that looks like it should have the Buttery Blur taken off, I'll usually just go over it with a real low opacity brush, like a 20% opacity brush, and just kind of zip it across where I don't want the effects. Now the next action is going to be Bamboo, and again, this one is really versatile. You can do a lot with Bamboo. There's lots of layers, so sometimes when I just want kind of an all-in-one sort of action with all of the necessary layers for a good edit, I'll play Bamboo and then I'll just customize away, as opposed to have to playing, you know, 5, 6, 7 different actions. So I'm going to play Bamboo, and then we'll open it. And this is how bamboo looks as is on this particular picture. It's too much. It's too bright and too yellow. So opening up bamboo, we see that we have Paint In Color Boost all the way down to Bamboo Boost here. That's how many layers are in there. And so we just need to start going through and customizing a little bit. And the first thing I want to think about is I'm going to paint in, well actually I'm going to do it a little bit backwards here just so we can kind of see what we're doing. I'm going to take off the pop, I'm going to take off the haze, I'm going to take off actually quite a lot of these things so that we can just get down to the basics and not be inundated with all the things that we're probably going to change later. So basically all I have on are the sweet tones and the darken. The darken presets defaults on, and I like that for this particular picture. We need that on there. So paint in the color boost. I'm going to go ahead and use my white brush here and about a 50% opacity brush and just start to paint in this color boost on her dress, and it just gives a little bit more oomph and pizzazz to the purple, which is a really nice contrast with the green background. It's a great color choice there. So after the paint on the color boost, I want to go ahead and put my haze on, and I'm just going to turn that visibility back on, and we're going to take it down to about 60% opacity here. On the pop layer, I'm going to go ahead and turn that one back on, and I don't want it popping the entire picture because I also have a bamboo boost layer down at the bottom here. So I'm going to actually invert this bamboo pop, Command or Control I again, and then I'm just going to use it to pop out her face. And this is going to give a little bit more contrast and sharpness and boost to her face. The next thing I want to do is take my sweet tones at 25. That's fine. In the original edit that I had done before the video, I dropped it down to 20. So I'm just going to drop that down a little bit. If you open up sweet tones, there's actually 4 different layers in here that you can play with as well. You know, turning different layers on and off. And that's really how you customize. Get in there and turn those layers on and off and see what they do. We're going to go ahead and close sweet tones back down. And darken, again, it's set to 30% opacity. We're just going to leave that as is because we needed that little bit of boost of the darkening. The brighten, we don't want to need to brighten anything else. The matte bamboo, I'm going to turn that back on. And I like what that does. It's very subtle. It just kind of pulls some of the black contrast out of the picture. So we're going to leave that as it is. The cherry and the golden colors here. The cherry, you can see if we turn it on, and the golden on, it's just too much pink. It's just, for this picture, it doesn't work. So I'm going to turn the cherry off and the golden off. Now, if I wanted to maybe turn it on and invert the layer mask and paint it in a particular place, we could certainly do that. Let's just do that for fun. For the cherry, I turn the visibility on, and we'll invert the mask, Command or Control I, and then we'll just add it to her dress because it gives a little bit more boost to that purple. That's a trick I often do to saturate my colors, is find the colors that are already there. So if it's like a blue truck or something, I'll put a blue tone over the picture and just paint it over the blue truck. It intensifies that color. You could also actually paint this cherry onto her lips if you wanted to get crazy, or her cheeks, and add it in there. Selectively painting in and adding effects is the way that I always do it. I'm going to leave the golden bamboo off. I just didn't want that yellow tone in there. And then finally I'm going to turn the boost on and off again so I can kind of visually see what it's doing to the picture. And I'm going to go ahead and invert this again, Command I. And I'm just going to lightly, with a 20% opacity brush, just zip it over her. So we're just brightening up her a little tiny bit. Okay, let's click this bamboo on and off. So it gives a nice softness, a little bit of haze, it popped the color, it changed the tones of the picture just a little bit. It's really nice and pretty. So finally, the only last thing left to do is just to give it a little bit of vignette. And there isn't a specific vignette action in the Botanical blends, but if you just take a darkening action like Nightshade, hit play, it darkens up the whole picture. Let's invert that again. And we'll just paint it around the edges. I've got a 20% opacity brush going. And I actually want a nice bigger brush because I like the overspray that a big brush allows. And if we need to darken up anything selectively, come in here and do that as well. I'm going to come in with a 10% opacity and just zip it right on her cheek. It gives it a little bit more definition and shape, and we'll darken our lips up a little bit. Alright, so we've played 4 actions. Botanical blends. We've played Illuminate to brighten up her face. We played Buttery Blur to give a creaminess and a softness to the picture. Bamboo, all those customized layers inside, one of my favorite go-tos. And Nightshade, inverted and painted around the edges. So let's go back to the beginning, before and after. It's very feminine, delicate, dreamy, pretty, soft. All of those things that you want your senior pictures to be. And any questions you guys might have, please feel free to visit me on my Facebook page and leave comments there, leave questions there. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. You can find out more information about the Michelle Kane actions at my website, michellecanephotography.com. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a blessed day.